Hey everyone, this is Andy, your fan of fandom. I'm going to give you my after game review of the game, simply known as the game, the annual Harvard versus Yale tradition. But before we get started, please like and subscribe to us. And I'm going to give you my official rating at the end of this video. Simply known as the game, for over 150 years, Harvard has played Yale in an annual rivalry. And every year they switch stadiums. It's this year's game was at Harvard Stadium. Next year's game will be at the Yale Bowl. And this game is something that is pure and it's authentic, and it reminds you of what sports used to be like in the old days, long before the college football playoffs and long before national championships and NIL money. This was the game I had a chance to go to. This is my third time that I went, and it was a great experience. So I drive in, I got great parking right in Harvard Square. And it was about a quarter of a mile of a walk from the square to Harvard Stadium. And while I was walking, it was great because I'm walking with other fans. The river is on the left side with boats in it, and it was crisp and it was damp and it was rainy with leaves on the ground, but it was such a great experience with wrought iron gates out in front of the stadium. And here's this historic stadium, and it was felt very collegiate. Like I was on one of the most historic college campuses, that's over 400 years, and playing in these two landmark stadiums. It wasn't a brand new fancy stadium with all the latest amenities. I mean, this was raw and it was authentic, and it gave a purity to college sports or sports in general over the years. And so being a part of that was an amazing experience, just to experience that tradition and nostalgia. Believe it or not, I did not see as many Yale fans as I expected to see, but it was a sea of crimson. The Harvard band was playing. There was, you had Dunkin' Donuts there. You had a band there, and in New England, Dunkin' Donuts is a staple at sporting events always. And so Duncan was there. There was a band, merchandise, tons of merchandise. Never expected to see as much merch that I had before, and I'm not really sure why the shift this year. But it was, everything I liked about going to a game was going on that day, including the game itself. This was a big game atmosphere, and make no mistake, even though they weren't playing for number one in the AP polls or the ESPN top 25 or the college football playoffs, this was a game where there were definitely bragging rights on the line. Harvard was playing for their sole share or sole possession of the Ivy League title. And Yale, of course, wanted to knock out their rivals, their arch rival. So it really meant something, even though, it wasn't, Ohio State, Michigan. The game really, there was a passion for the game. You could tell it from the players. You could tell it from the fans. People were into it. And, it wasn't just a college football game watching Dennis, Harvard future lawyers and doctors playing against other futures doctors and lawyers. These were football players. And there was a feeling that these were football players playing in this game. It mattered. I loved, the quality of the game was definitely there. Of the game was definitely there. It was, the game was good. It was a good football game. You wouldn't have known. To me, you wouldn't have known. It could have been Harvard, Yale. It could have been any other top Division I team. It had that feel. The emotion was there, and it had this opportunities to engage and show your support for Harvard football. So I like that. And then walking around, there were other things. The Harvard bookstore really had a presence this year, which I haven't seen in the past, where they set up like a Wi-Fi area, like a lounge, and they also set up another area which was like they had like a fire pit outside. So they took this old stadium and they created an experience around it. And when I tell you it's an old stadium and it is bare bones, I mean, it is not, you would think that it being Harvard, you would think, oh, it would be, really high end and fancy. No, this is like the same as it was when it opened. I mean, there's not, very authentic, very raw. And it was, they had like food vendors outside. They had like, uh, fried dough, and they had hot dogs and sausages, and had a kind of a carnival type of atmosphere. And this is the third time I've been there, and the first two I don't really recall that. This time definitely had a fun family like atmosphere. So I live in a northeast city. Living in a northeast city like Boston, the options for college football are limited. I am not a Boston College fan. We do not, they have a very strong alumni. In fact, their stadium is called Alumni Stadium at Boston College. So I've never really gone to a college football game in New England except for Harvard, Yale, and like other Northeast cities, you don't have that. It's more about the pro sports teams, less about the college teams. So the pickings are slim as far as what college games you can go to. But the Harvard Yale game actually is in Boston. Harvard Stadium is in Boston. It's over the bridge. And it has I've never been to a college football game in Boston before. I mean, except for the Harvard Yale. So that was a special thing, because as someone who loves the game of college football, I needed to see that and participate in that. And Harvard Yale really was the game that did that for me. And I don't think I would have experienced that at Boston College unless it was, UCLA playing Boston College or USC playing Boston College. But this was more, I didn't really have a dog in the fight. Probably Harvard because my wife works there, but ultimately it was, taking on it for the pageantry and the experience of it all was what made it unique. So now I'm going to give you my rating for the game. I'm not going to give you to you in a number. I'm going to give it to you in a phrase. Let's run it back, because I would go back to this game in a second. Next year it's at the Yale Bowl. I may go to the Yale Bowl because I like the experience of it all. It was cool. Like it was something that, regardless of the outcome, who won, who lost, I didn't care. It was good football. It had nostalgia. If you like that, there was history. It almost had it's almost like a museum like feel for that game. It's like sports history is there, and it's living and breathing sports history. So for me, as a history buff of sports and somebody who appreciates the nostalgia, being there is what really made it. It wasn't about the winning. It was more about the overall experience. So Yale is not that far from me, so I would go to the Yale game again. And if I were going to go to Harvard Yale the next year back in Cambridge or back in Boston, I would make sure that I would do it a little differently, because it's something that I'd like to even grow into, like almost even consider turn it into my own tradition, where I would have, go to a restaurant pregame or create my own tailgate and make it a thing. It was really that good. And I think my perspective over time changed because, seeing kind of the over commercialism of sports and kind of where it is. This game doesn't have a corporate sponsor. Army Navy has a corporate sponsor. This game didn't even have a corporate sponsor. This is still pure. And we don't have a lot of that today, in my opinion. And this was something that we do have. So let's run it back is my official analysis. Hey, everyone. Thanks for watching this after game review. I'm Andy, your fan of fandom. Join us next time as we travel different sporting events and give you the fan of fandom's take. And remember, please like and subscribe to us, as you're never going to know where we're going to end up.